Alright, good afternoon once again, everyone. And I didn't mention this, but that phone call to that lady, again, I was just following up to see if she received the paperwork releasing me from the probation. She said that she did not answer the question. She said that I should have received it by now. And I reminded her that we agreed that I was coming to pick it up from the office and that I would contact her mid-August to follow up with her. She said that she needed to check with the person that does the letters and that they're not received from outside of the office. This contradicts what she said the last two visits that I had with her, which was that the whole reason I was waiting to mid-August was to make sure that they received it by then. So it contradicts that. And then as the conversation went on, it continued on. I asked her what was the name of the person that was actually handling that. She then tells me, oh, there's not a particular person, there's a group of people that handle that. Well, if there's more than one, it's not a particular person, there's more than one person handling it, then why am I waiting until Wednesday to follow up with you on that? Because didn't you just tell me that you needed to wait for that person that was handling it to come back on Wednesday? Oh, well, that's the main person that does it. And then I just kind of spoke out because I was a little frustrated. And I was like, well, you just told me to call you back on Wednesday. Well, that's the summary of it, the bottom line of it all. But the conversation went through the point of where I was like, well, you told me that there was one person that's handling it. Now you're telling me there's a group of people that handles it. Which is it? I said, did you lie to me? And I was like, I don't want to be disrespectful and I'm not trying to be, but this is just the type of thing that, happens, when you're in the criminal justice system, especially for a victim. The things that normal people would address, it's almost like you're not allowed to address that. If you are asking somebody from documentation, you want to know who that person is that is responsible for giving it to you. If you call and you speak to someone, you want to know who you're talking to on the phone. And she'll say, oh, yeah, you can know who you're talking to on the phone. But that's not true either, because if I call and whoever answers that front desk phone, I ask them who it is, they're going to have a problem with me asking them that and cause problems, So, that is what it is. And, I've made myself brain dead. I'm just going to be completely honest. I've made myself intentionally brain dead over the past few years, so that I do not address things, I do not ask questions, because I don't want to be driven in this big old circle, But it's just like, when does that, when does it come to a point when it's okay for you to ask, So the thing with dealing with the legal system, what I'm understanding is that you should never show any emotion. Say as little as possible. And I'm going to say the same. Thanks to Mr. Randall Thomas from, I think that's his name, from Transitions from years ago. When you have a question or something to address any person of the law, write it down, because you know exactly what you want to ask them. But what they'll do is they will avoid it so many times and not answer so many times that you're explaining why you're asking this question. And so the question is very clear and precise. Write that one question down. Ask that question. Wait for them to respond. Whatever the response that they have, ask that same question again, because they're not going to answer your question. Now, it goes against my logic, because my logic is always assuming that the other person is really trying to understand. My logic is that, like I asked her, who's the person that's responsible for creating the letter? And if she says, oh, well, it's not actually one person. Oh, that's what happened. She says, oh, it's not one person. Actually, it's not necessarily one person that handles it. Then that means it was a simple question: who handles it? But you just insinuated that it was, because you told me that you had to. That person that does it is not here today. So I said, this is the supervisor. No, it's not the supervisor. It's like an admin person. You know. So they will run you in circles, and in the circles that they run you in, it's almost like Taekwondo, where all they do is they start the circle running, and you just rolling with the flow. So don't even get yourself caught up in that, because they'll roll you in that circle to the point where they can easily turn it and say that you were the cause of that, which is what happened here. She was like, oh, you caused all the confusion. I said, no, ma'am, I just asked you who was the person that was responsible for, doing the letter. You told me that the person wasn't there. They were going to be there until Wednesday. So I just wanted to know who the person was. But then you told me that there is no, it's not handled by one person. Okay. And it's like they understand you're confused, but they make no attempt to try to, so ask the questions that you have, write them down, be direct, leave it at that. Don't get caught up. They're going to try to start a ball rolling, going somewhere that you don't want to go. Don't hop on it. Let that ball roll. When it's finished rolling, they let it roll out of their mouth. Let it roll. Come back, ask the same question. And what might be helpful is the question that you have to ask. Before you talk to them, have it written down 3 or 4 different ways to re-ask that same question, because they're going to avoid it like crazy. And the end result of that might be they may say that you're being argumentative or something negative, but you're just asking a question you want to know. That's it. If you don't get the answer there, always have 2 forms of backup if it's that important to you. But life is short. I'm going to tell you. The system can take up a lot of your time and energy if you look at it that way. But I think a positive way to look at it is an education. I mean, for me, I'm single. I don't have any children, and I'm going to tell you, I've been brain dead for the past 4 years because of this legal thing. I've just completely turned myself completely off. I turned the switch off upstairs just so that, I don't think. But I know what's right and wrong, but be analytical, think about it. Write your questions down. And this is not just for the legal system, because like I said, the world has changed too. And the way you want to look at it in a positive way, it's like, for me, I don't have family and all of that, so it's just me. Look at it as a class. Instead of paying thousands, $30,000 a year to go to X university where you're being programmed, give yourself a real life lesson. Interact, get some opposition. It makes your brain stronger. I take it 3. 3 different, for those questions, 4 alternate ways of asking the question. Set the tone, positive, professional, educated. Also have backup, and always start early so you have time to thoroughly investigate everything that you need to investigate. I mean, the time for me now is goal setting. I need to figure out like what I want to do about myself. What do I want to do moving forward? I definitely want to learn. If the legal system wants to hold on to me forevermore again, it's a scary thing. It is scary because, as a good person, you do care what people think about you. You may not realize it because because as a good person, you may have always gotten love. But when those things are turned on you, all that you got is you. So I want to learn, but I need to bring my heart and my mind up to the level of understanding. And when I say understanding, I mean beyond just knowing, but understanding. It's going to happen. You're going to have some hard opposition. You're going to have people that do you wrong in so many ways. But you got to remember what your goal is and focus on it. So I'm going to contemplate that a little bit off camera. What is my goal? and how am I going to focus on it? And I see that I have a few more subscribers. I'm not sure why. Hopefully, hopefully it's for positive things. Hopefully, anyone that newly subscribed can relate. And hopefully, you know, maybe you're hurting and in pain too. Maybe you'll come to a point where you feel open enough, comfortable enough, and maybe come to terms with yourself enough where you can share with me. And I'm looking, this is my left shoulder. I'm left-handed. So you can see this is like so much bulkier. Like, I'm broad-shouldered anyway, but I keep thinking it's this because it's sloped down, but it's sloped down because it's not built. This is like muscle over here. But anyways, like I said, once again, God bless. I'm gonna work on a few things, find out what makes your soul tick, what makes you happy, and do that. And that's what I'm about to do. So hopefully I'll have some outstanding news, some goals and aspirations for myself when I come back. And there's a lot of unknowns in this world, especially in this time. But it comes to a point in everyone's life where you just got to kind of put your foot down and say, "This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to be." So, love you. For the Korean people out there, if there's any, probably not. But 많이 많이 사랑합니다. And for the Spanish people, just because I live in South Florida, te amo and me gusta mucho. And that's it. Those are the only two other. I love languages and people in general, but those are the ones that affect my life mostly. Korean because my mother's South Korean, and Spanish because I'm in South Florida. Can't help but to get in love with you around. Haitians too. I love Haitians, Jamaicans, Bahamians. I love all people. But anyways, God bless. Bye. Work on your goals. That's what I'm about to do now.